Hey everyone, and welcome to the first actual episode of our Might and Magic VII Let's Play, our completionist run, or as I'm calling it, as I mentioned in the introductory video, the perfectionist run. In this video we're just going to be doing party creation, and that's going to be it, but there is a lot to talk about. One thing I won't be doing though is I won't be giving kind of like a detailed introduction to every single aspect of character creation, because a lot of it is just unchanged from Might and Magic VI. So if you're new to this kind of thing and you're, you either haven't seen these games before or you just need a refresher, then I would recommend watching the at least the character creation video from the MM6 series. You don't have to watch the whole series, you could just watch that one video, and that should be enough to catch you up on stuff like, what the different stats do and what the basic skills are like. In this video I'm going to be focusing mainly on the differences between Might and Magic 6 and 7, and in particular how those differences will impact my objectives for this series. So one very obvious difference, well, before we start talking about differences, one cool little detail: if you notice the character names, you'll notice Zoltan, Roderick, Serena, and Alexis. These are the same names as the default party from Might and Magic 6. So I thought that was a cool little bit of continuity. Of course, they're in a different order here. In Might and Magic 6, it was Roderick, Alexis, Serena, Zoltan, and their occupations are also different. In the old game, Zoltan was a sorcerer. Here he's a knight, which is kind of like the exact opposite. Anyway, with that little aside out of the way, what I was gonna draw your attention to is the fact that we have races in addition to classes, and that's not just like a cosmetic thing. It does affect certain things like stats and stuff, but more important for my objectives anyway, is the fact that things like race and class, well, let's go through this one by one. The race and the class that you pick will restrict what you can do in different kinds of ways. Now, in the old game, in Might and Magic 6, there were also restrictions by class. So, for instance, the sorcerer, unless you exploited certain glitches, was unable to learn any sort of armor higher than leather armor. So, your sorcerer in that game could not wear chainmail or plate mail. In this game, you can also learn leather armor, but if I right-click on it to show you the description, you will notice that the last two tiers, Master and Grandmaster, are highlighted in red. That means, in this case, our sorcerer Alexis will not be able to progress beyond Expert in leather armor. That's going to be the highest tier that she can achieve. And this applies to all kinds of skills. Even our knight, who by default starts with leather armor, can only progress as high as master. So this means that no matter which combination you pick, no matter how wide you try and cast your net, there will be certain skills that none of your characters will be able to become Grandmaster in. And you've got these 4 characters, you just gotta try your best with them. And like you don't need a Grandmaster in every single skill. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that if you had the completionist objective that I had in Might and Magic 6, to have at least one member with the highest rank in every skill, you will not be able to do that in this game. So that's the first implication for my objectives in this game, is that I am no longer holding myself to my old challenge of getting all those skills, which does free, like, it feels like a weight has been lifted off in a certain way, because if you watched my old series, you'll know that in order to satisfy my goal of having at least one character with every skill, that meant that there were certain useless skills that I was pumping points into, like diplomacy, which does nothing for me. I was putting points into that when instead I could have been putting them into something useful, like, I don't know, like meditation or something that boosts damage. I won't have to do that in this game, thankfully. So that's one aspect out of the way. That is the build, for lack of a better word, that you select for your party with the different classes will restrict which skills you can learn and how far you can progress in those skills. The other, and I think the more interesting restriction, and the one that's going to cause me a lot of headaches, I was just talking about how a weight has been lifted off. Well, that weight has been put right back on me, because the second restriction is that there are artifacts in this game which can only be used by certain races, or I believe certain classes. I'll have to refresh my own memory about this, and I'll confirm this once again when we actually start hunting down artifacts, which will be sooner than you think. But yes, restrictions are placed on you. I know there is at least one artifact in this game that can only be used by goblins. And I think there's one that can only be used by elves. And I think there are ones that are restricted by class. So that has implications for artifact hunting for me in this game. Reason for that is, similar to Might and Magic VI, there are a lot of artifacts in this game. Way more in this game, in fact, than in Might and Magic VI. But you have the same small limit in terms of artifacts that you can randomly find. So, I believe it's 13 that you can find through random loot, and then there are others that are scripted to be in certain locations, and then those, if you find all of them, that's, you've hit your limit. You will find no more artifacts randomly. And the reason why I said it's giving me a headache is because if I just accept whatever the game gives to me randomly, the game might give me an artifact that nobody can use, right? Because we're restricted by race. You're also restricted by alignment. That's the third thing that I'll get to briefly, but like there's I guess a branching pathway system in this game where, to put it simply, you have to choose between light side and dark side. And like if I choose light side and then I get a bunch of dark side artifacts, you can see how that would annoy me a little bit. So for that reason, when I am hunting for artifacts, I will have to employ certain tricks to make sure I get the exact ones that I want. And I'm not going to be editing my save file or anything, but I will be save scumming a lot. And don't worry, I won't subject you to that. If I have to save scum, I'll just excuse me. If I have to save scum a lot, and I will have to, I'll just skip ahead to the end and show you the results of what I found. So yes, those are the main implications for how the differences in Might and Magic VI's race / class / alignment system will impact my gameplay and my I was going to say achievement hunting. There aren't really achievements in this game, but my completion hunting, my perfection hunting in this game. So that's done. And before I move on and end this character creation, I just want to do a little bit of editing. Similar to the old game, I'm just going to stick with the default party. I'm going to stick with the default party with just some minor changes. the main thing I want is I want at least 2 people with a bow skill. I also want 2 characters that can be pretty good at hang on, are you better at alchemy than the cleric? I suspect you will be, and indeed, you can go to master, you can only go to expert, so why are you even wasting a skill slot learning alchemy? It's kind of pointless. Instead of that, let's just give you meditation so that you have some extra spell points early on. And I was going to give you meditation as well, but it seems that you don't have that as an option. But I do think even identify will be more, not identify monster, identify item. It's weird that they don't, I guess the full name of the skill wouldn't fit, but I almost went into the game with the wrong skill because of this. Anyway, so you'll have identify item. Alright, now with that, little bit of, and I'm not even going to touch the stats because I don't, to be perfectly honest, stats don't matter that much. If they do matter, we'll have ways of getting the stats that we want. I'm just going to leave it as default and not even worry too much about it. But that brings me to the last point that I wanted to make before I closed off character creation, which is that the reason I'm starting with the default party, well, there are 2 reasons. Number 1, nostalgia. I went with the default party in Might and Magic VI as well, and even though they're shuffled around a little bit, it'll be nice to still have Roderick, Alexis, Serena, and Zoltan with us, even though they look very different and do very different things compared to their previous incarnations. But the more practical reason for other people watching, especially people who might be new to the series, the reason that I'm just going with the default party with just these minor changes is to show that this is a game that, yes, it's old, and yes, I know old games can sometimes be intimidating because they don't have a lot of the conveniences, a lot of the little things that help you that we're used to in modern games. But this is a game that you can play in a pretty relaxed way. You can create almost any party that you want. You can choose like, even if you don't know anything about how classes work, you can just choose classes based on what sounds good to you. Like maybe you played a paladin in another game and you have good feelings about that word, like, or druids, and you want to kind of keep that same feeling going in this game. You can do that, and you can build perfectly good, perfectly viable characters around almost any class combination. And so that's why I'm picking the default class, because I was worried that if somebody new to the series was watching, and if they saw me like fiddling, one stat point here, one stat point there, like for half an hour, it would give the wrong impression about the kind of game this is. You don't need to min-max at all. So I think that's about everything I wanted to cover. So with that out of the way, I am going to press OK. There's going to be a cutscene, and I really hope it records well, because there were some resolution issues in the old game. If it doesn't, I may have to cut it out of the video, but we'll see how it goes. All right. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens.
Hear ye, hear ye. The Emerald Island scavenger hunt is about to begin. The list of objects has been given to all contestants. As you know, the winners of the contest will be awarded title to Castle Harmony and the surrounding lands. Be careful. Emerald Island can be dangerous. Last night, 3 contestants disappeared, and we are concerned for their safety. During the contest, please be on the lookout for our missing contestants. If you find a piece of equipment in the woods, return at once with the clue. It may save their lives. There have been rumors that some kind of monster is loose on the island and may be hiding in one of the caves. If you see a cave you are unfamiliar with, don't go into it. Send someone back to town, and the guards will conduct a search for you. We don't want anyone else to get hurt. And one more thing. We have... sorry. We have reports that the monster may be a dragon. If you see it, run for your lives.
Okay, that was an interesting cutscene. And again, I don't know if that recorded. If it didn't, I will summarize it at the start of the next video. And yeah, I think that's about it. We're just gonna... Whoa! Okay, I'm gonna have to adjust some of the sensitivity here for sure. Right, so we're just gonna call it... call this video to a close at this point. And I will see you at the start of the next video. I'm pretty excited to get this game going. So until then, well, this was my old test file. I'm just going to overwrite it. So until then, take care.